Honorable Minister for IT, Government of UP, my senior colleague Arun sir, Neha, who incidentally happens to my probationer and like my child, and Microsoft partners, and all of you who are attending this session today. First of all, I should thank ELITS for persistently inviting me to every one of their events, even though I persistently keep saying no. And I should congratulate them and Microsoft for this very topical seminar that they are doing today. I have a presentation, but I prefer not to run it because I see there are many speakers and a short time, and in any case, I get very impatient with PPT. So digital governance within the ambit of government, I think we basically use it for 2-3 things. One is, of course, streamlining procedure, process simplification. Another would be to make sense of the big sea of data that surrounds us. Try and conquer data overload, because in government we do have quite a bit of data. And maybe the most important or the most frequently used for service delivery, to make the user end as transparent, a little more friendly, a little more accessible for the public for whom we all work. So while using technology, we are essentially not using technology for the sake of technology, but we are trying to respond to the felt need of the people whom we cater to. So I too have used my share of techno in different sectors like agriculture, civil supplies, civic amenities, and as the assignment I had demanded. Currently, I'm in the mining sector, and speaking of mining, I should say that it's a genetically complicated sector. And that is not because of any mafia-giri as we normally see, there's a lot of mafia in mining, not because of that. It's because it's a sector with too many stakeholders with conflicting interests. If you were just to name the main players, of course, government as a major revenue earner looking for money from mining, government again as a major supplier because it is meant to provide raw material to the people. Everybody needs balu, morang, gitti. And government also as a consumer, because we have so many construction projects by government agencies. Second stakeholder would be the business partners, our concessionaires. Of course, they have their profit motive because the sector has to be profitable, viable, otherwise they cannot continue in that. And of course, they have some unhealthy business interests also, where one group tries to shut down the other group's mines and we have problems, headache for us. And third is, of course, the people. People, which of course, public interest, which is our biggest interest, that everybody, not only the big real estate players, but the average citizen who wants to build a one-room house, a bathroom, everybody needs the material we supply. So a lopsided market will affect public. So that is why enforcement in mining, it is an enforcement agency, but enforcement is a very layered thing in this. Greater enforcement doesn't necessarily mean greater revenue. Good performance in government statistics doesn't necessarily mean better public happiness. And second thing, you need to ensure supply. If there is not adequate supply as a prerequisite, then whatever enforcement you do will again create market distortion and affect the public as the prices will go up. And thirdly, enforcement is also big business in itself. There is a lot of randomness, a lot of extortion that goes on in the name of checking of mines. Somebody goes out to check a mine, say the director goes, so there is blackmailing, money making on behalf of the director in the checking. So that is why we feel the need to create a legal regime that is uniformly applicable to every mine in the state. To try and put every mine and every vehicle coming out of every mine within a standardized legal regime if possible. That is how a few months ago we thought of using again technology, taking the help of technology, and in this case a Microsoft artificial intelligence based software and a command center and a few techno components with that. So the first thing we did was to create a command center, which Arpit was also referring to, a command center in the mining directorate. The command center is equipped with a artificial intelligence enabled software. Our software developer is Uptron. We have the software consultant, Abhyuday, is also here. The software end is from that agency. And To this command center, we have linked a few features at the mine end. The first feature is geofencing of all the mines. So this our homegrown geology boys in the directorate did using a PGRS software. They were trained by the local state remote sensing agency. So there, what we did was to overlay the cadastral map on the satellite images and try and find out what are the sand deposits in different districts, sand or rock, whatever mineral it be. So to that we did two things. One, geofence, meaning give the geo coordinates of all the boundary pillars of all our major mines in all major districts. And second, also identify potential areas for leasing out. Because we lease out mines on auction, and most often we find that the most exhausted mines are leased out, whereas virgin areas are lying untouched, which can create good business for our players. So we identified new areas which we can auction out, and we also marked out our mine boundaries so that any mining activity which happens beyond these soft mine boundaries can be immediately detected. The second feature was an AI-assisted activity monitoring at the mine end using cameras. Now first we have CC cameras put in all the mines. Currently we are trying to put PTZs at the extraction end of the mine so that the digging activity can also be monitored. And we also have a drone which we selectively use for districts from which we get chronic complaints. So the idea is that the live video feed from these cameras is beamed directly to cloud, and therein the AI-enabled software of the command center, it real-time identifies violations which are then marked to the mining officer for action. Violation can be that any kind of prohibited digger is being used, huge machines which are prohibited, or it can be that mining is happening in a prohibited area. For example, the water stream of the river where you're not supposed to mine. So this is the second component. Third is that I have loaded my truck full of sand from the mine. Now as I go out, I'm supposed to collect an electronically generated transit pass, which we call eMMGARA. Now before the MMGARA is issued, I have to get my truck weighed. So we have installed digital weigh bridges, which are again connected to our command center. So the vehicle will get weighed, and to the weigh bridge is connected two cameras, which will take the photo capture of the truck, both from the top and from the back. The idea meaning that you get a volumetric assessment of the truck also. So the weighment data as well as the photo images are transmitted directly to the command center through cloud, based on which the MO can take action. Now, currently our software developer is in the process of getting API from NIC, because NIC hosts the MMGARA portal. And once we are seamlessly interlinked, we can ensure that every vehicle which moves out with a transit pass has been necessarily weighed, and if they have done overloading by any chance, which they mostly do, then the revenue which shall come to the department. Meaning that before that truck is given the next MMGARA, he will necessarily have to make the payment for that extra payload to the mining officer, and only then will the next transit pass be issued to that truck. The next feature is that now I have moved out of the mine and I am out. So you cannot rule out the possibility that even after leaving the mine, the transporter may do some hanky-panky, because everybody is in it for profit. So he might unload, he might offload, he might take something else, whatever. So we need scanning in transit also, for which we have developed a mobile app which has been downloaded in our mining officers' phones. Later on we plan to put it into all police officers and magistrates' phones also. So the thing is, there are many trucks which use photoshopped or photocopied transit pass. Then sometimes you have the right vehicle but you have the wrong pass. Sometimes you have the wrong vehicle but the right pass. Sometimes within that short window that they have been given, suppose they are supposed to go to Gorakhpur and they have an 8-hour span. Within that they will do 3 trips up and down by going to the wrong place. So whatever it is, the scanning application will ensure that the MMGARA ID along with the geolocation of the truck is marked to the software, and the software will issue an automatic trigger both to the mining officer as well as to the RTO, because the mining department doesn't have any enforcement people. We have only a handful of mining officers. We don't have any uniformed police. Unlike the Abkari or the GST or the transport, we don't have uniformed men. We have vehicles only in 32 districts out of 75. So we are a cash-strapped department. So the software will issue a trigger to the RTO that there goes your prey, you better chase and capture him. And later on, we plan to link it to GST also so that they can, as a unified revenue command. So mining, GST and transport all working together. And the next feature that we have done is to register all the trucks that transport minerals with the mining department. So currently we have around 25,000 registered trucks and more are on the way. The idea being that once you have a subset of trucks which are working exclusively with the mining sector, we can subsequently link the GPS machines which are connected in the trucks. So the things that remain for us to do are VTS or GPS integration. We tried to get all the transporters to put AIS 140 compliant machines in their gadis. They refused. They said it's too costly. Then we said, जो भी machine लगा है सस्ता जो local बना हुआ उसी को integrate कर लो. But then they are not able to give us the manufacturer details. So it's still on. And the last thing we want to do is create an intervention at the toll gates, for which we are in discussion with the NH. They already have a weighing in motion mechanism, so we just have to integrate so that we get the weighman data. So that is what we are trying to do. Some of it is done, some of it is still on. I will never claim for a moment in mining that sab kuch kar liya, that we have done all that needs to be done, because it's a very humbling sector. The more you do, you realize the more that is left to be done. And it's a constant battle of wits. It's about who is smarter than the other. Like when we come up with something, the other players, I will not call them mafia, but the players come up with something more wise. So when we said weighbridge, they did put the weighbridge, but they put it in such a way that there is manual calibration in the digitizer, so that we'll get the happiness of weighing the trucks, but we'll be none the wiser. The weight will be exactly what they want it to be, shown. Then they put the weighbridges in areas where there is no network, so that tomorrow we cannot blame for when you say there is no transmission of real-time data from the weighbridge. When we discussed putting this thing, RFID reader at the Nawabganj toll gate, all the trucks decided in one go that we will not go through the Nawabganj toll gate. We will go to Lucknow through some route in Ajgan Thana, so they divert to Lucknow before the Nawabganj toll gate. So it's a matter of who is smarter than the other and who is one step ahead. So we are trying, and that's all I would like to share. Thank you so much.